A lot of you have been asking from me for a long period of time this question, that I am new to Buddhism and I want to know more. Please recommend me some books to read. Well, today I'm going to be recommending you 5 books that you must read as a beginner to Buddhism. Now, I have categorized these 5 books into 3 groups. The first group is the books that will give you a good understanding about the Buddha's life story. The second group is the books that will give you a good understanding about the core and fundamental Buddhist principles. And the third one is the books that will give you a good understanding about how to practice Buddhism in our daily life. It's something like a practical guide in your daily life. So without any further ado, let's dive into these books. First off, we have The Buddha and His Teachings by Narada Mahathera. Now, if you are interested in learning the Buddha's life story, this is one of the best books that you can read. The first half of this book is entirely dedicated in explaining about the Buddha's life story and about the key moments of the Buddha's life story. Now, having a good understanding about the life of the Buddha is very important when you learn Buddhism, because there are some things, and it is something like you're having a good foundation to your knowledge. So in this book, in the first half, you can learn the key moments of the Buddha's life story. And the second half is entirely dedicated in explaining about the main Buddhist concepts like karma and rebirth and enlightenment and etc. So as a beginner, you should read this book, and this is one of the best books that you can start reading as a beginner to Buddhism. Next up, we have one of my personal favorite books, and that is Buddha, the Marvelous Sage by my teacher, Venerable Kiribati Jnanananda Mahathera. He was the monk who took me under his wings and taught me Dhamma and gave me this precious gift of Dhamma. Now, this book is very special because it flows like a river. Now, when you read this book, it is also about the Buddha's life story and also some of the teachings of the Buddha. It flows like a river. It is very difficult to put down this book, right? If you are fascinated and if you like to learn more about Buddha's life story, this is one of the best books that you can read. And also it has some explanations about the Buddha's early lives, how the Buddha practiced and how the Buddha practiced some good qualities to attain the Buddhahood. So if you're interested in learning about the Buddha's life story in detail, this is one of the best books that you can read, Buddha, the Marvelous Sage. As the third book, I have one of the most famous books that have ever written by an author about Buddhism, and that is none other than What the Buddha Taught by Venerable Walpola Rahula Mahathera. Now, if you're interested in learning about the core Buddhism and main Buddhist fundamentals, right, and Buddhist concepts, this is the best book that you can read and you have to read. In this book, it explains about 4 Noble Truths, Noble Eightfold Path, enlightenment, and some concepts like anatta. And there are so many profound and very clear explanations about Buddhist concepts in this book. So this book falls under the category of the books that will give you a good understanding about the core Buddhism and Buddhist principles. Moving on to the fourth book, I have Mindfulness in Plain English by Bhante Gunaratana. Now, I don't want to explain much about this book because the title tells everything. Mindfulness in Plain English. Now, if you are interested in learning about the mindfulness and Buddhist way of mindfulness, how to practice the mindfulness in your daily life, this is the best books, and this is one of the best books that you can read. It is in simple English that everyone can understand. Now, I have seen all over the Bhante Gunaratana's works that every book that he writes is very simple to understand, and it is very applicable for our life. So you have a good understanding about the mindfulness and the meditation. So if you are interested in learning about the mindfulness and how to practice and how to apply the mindfulness to my life, this is the best book that you can read, Mindfulness in Plain English. As the fifth book and the final book, I have the most famous Buddhist book in the entire world, and that is none other than Dhammapada. Now, I have done an entire video about Dhammapada. If you want to watch it, you can watch it right here. Now, Dhammapada is a set of verses that was spoken by the Buddha himself. Now, these are the pure and the direct words from the Buddha himself. So, if you want to learn about the Buddha's way of life and Buddhist weave, this is one of the best books that you can read. And also, this is known as the handbook of Buddhists. Now, I have heard that a lot of our Hindu friends say that when you have a trouble in life and you are going through a tough time in life, take Bhagavad Gita and read, and you will find some answers. I would recommend for every one of you, read Dhammapada too, right? If you turn into a random page, you will find something that is very worthy and very valuable in this book, right? Now, this is very easy to read because it has the poem-like structure, okay? It has very small poem-like structures, verses, so it is very easy to read and it is very easy to understand. There are a lot of translations of Dhammapada, so I would recommend the translation that is done by Venerable Acharya Buddharakkhita, also known as Badabanteji. His translation is one of the best translations that you can find. So if you can find this book, then please read it and learn from it. Dhammapada is one of the major books that you have to read as a beginner to Buddhism. So here we are. These are the 5 books that you must read if you are new to Buddhism and if you want to know more about Buddhism. So all the links to each and every book I have mentioned down in the description box, and some of them have free PDFs, so you can read and you have to learn Buddhism like that. I want to say that you don't want to be a Buddhist to just read these books. Everyone can read and everyone can learn from Buddhism because Buddhism is open to everyone. You can be a Muslim, you can be a Christian person, you can be a Hindu person, no matter what religion you are from, no matter what nationality you have, you can learn Buddhism, and Buddhism is open to everyone. So learn Buddhism and make your life happy. Namo Buddhaya.